Hello, everybody. It is Marty Brill here, Captain Marty to some. You know, it's funny, when I was really a captain, nobody called me Captain Marty, but thanks to 25 years of radio and this podcast, now everybody calls me Captain Marty when I'm not really an actual active captain anymore. It's kind of like the Captain in Tennille, Captain Crunch, Captain Kangaroo. I'm one of those captains now. But anyway, we got a lot to talk about, a lot of wind over the weekend, but I'll be back to talk to you about what was caught. The guys had to earn it, but there were some good catches. I'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Captain Jay Cudworth of the Kokomo with Paradise Dolphin Cruises at Safe Harbor Marina in Wanchese. I want to invite you to take a ride out on the Roanoke Sound to see the majestic bottlenose dolphins up close. As a native, I'll be telling you stories from these waters as a boy growing up in Wanchese. Nature and history have combined to make this area unique, and I love sharing this special place with special people. So come on aboard with me and my crew and experience the real beauty of the Outer Banks. For more information, go online to ParadiseDolphinCruises.com. Again, this is Captain Jay. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Locally owned and operated since 1971, Billy's Seafood has been providing the locals and visitors of the Outer Banks with some of the freshest seafood you'll find. Not too far off the beaten path down Collington Road in KDH, Billy's Seafood has become a landmark for those seeking top-notch seafood at affordable prices. Billy's Seafood also has beer, wine, grandma's tuna salad, and other groceries as well. To see more, go online to billyseafoodobx.com. Billy's Seafood, putting fresh seafood on your table for over 50 years.
So we begin the weekend report like we usually do with Hatteras, and I got some folks on there that are so helpful to me on these fishing reports. Andy Pylan on the Good Times, and Rom Whitaker is really Release Rom. That's the name of his boat's The Release, and others. Steve Culture on the Sea Creature. Buddy Hooper, they all just help me out with some of the stuff that I share with you. I was talking to Andy last night, and actually, Saturday was a really rough day, and they fished, but they had good fishing. They had good blackfin tuna fishing. They had some dolphin or mahi in the gaffer size, meaning 8 pounds and up. And then they had some bailers, which would be under 8 pounds, the smaller ones. But that's good. Remember, I told you last week we should be starting to see the dolphin catches increasing a little bit. And that whole migration of those things is really subject to change. There's weird things going on in the movement of fish right now. Like, for instance, if you've been listening to me, you know we've been talking about bluefin tuna off the pier in Nag's Head, and blackfin tuna in Hatteras right up almost to the beach on the inshore wrecks. So there's some of that going on. Yesterday, on Sunday, the way I got it, nobody went offshore at Hatteras, but they had some boats that were fishing along the beach and what we would call inshore fishing, and they've been catching some king mackerel, really almost from the beach all the way out to the edge of the blue water, especially on the wrecks and in some shallower water. But they also had some guys out yesterday, and they caught a little bit of everything, a few sheephead, a few big bluefish, and a scattered drum in those catches. Now, these are in the ocean catches, and we'll talk more about what's going on back in the Sound after our break here in a minute in the Backcountry Report. Oregon Inlet, talked to Captain Dickie Harris, also one of my most helpful people on the Fantastic. And Dickie said on Saturday, it was hanging on rough, really hanging on. That was his first charter of the year on the Fantastic, and they caught a limit of king mackerel, and he caught I think he said one or two dolphin, not many, just a couple of dolphin or mahi, and then he was trying to work. He said you had to hang on. He said you couldn't even move around. They would never take you if it was dangerous rough. They don't do that, but there is a maximum of what people can take. And on days when the weather is borderline or questionable, you talk to the charter, feel them out a little bit, and say, look, we'll go if you want, but it's going to be a little bit snotty, which it was. So as he trolled up inshore to get out of that hot blue water, which was running the current, the Gulf Stream was running straight into that northeast wind, he got back up in the cooler water. It wasn't quite as rough, and lo and behold, he hit 4 bluefin tunas and caught all 4 of them, kept one by law, and had to release the other 3. They were 75 pounds apiece. So I could not find anybody that went yesterday out of Oregon Inlet. But the table was set. They've had some good days of yellowfin tuna. That's the money fish. That's the one everybody is really after this time of year. Great to eat. You can keep a few of them, which is really nice. So when the weather dies down a little bit, we should see a good week on tuna fishing. They've also, as I mentioned, their inshore fleet has been catching kings. They've been closer to the beach. There's still a scattered bluefin tuna to be caught. And there's a lot of these 2 to 6 pound bluefish. By the way, I'm going to back up just a minute. When Andy was telling me about the bluefish down in Hatteras, they were 10 pounds and up. So that's a bigger one out in the ocean by boat. I don't know how many of those made it to the beach, but theirs is a 10 pound and up average. And the ones around Oregon Inlet, mostly what I've been hearing about is those 2 to 6 pounders, the really good eating size. Keep them iced down, flay them, skin them, and eat them. And if you complain, don't tell me about it, because, it's funny. I've had relatives here from South Florida over the weekend. They were telling me, like myself, from being from Central Florida, they were telling me, oh, we have a lot of mullet, jumping mullet, and we love eating them. I grew up eating jumping mullet. Up here, people kind of turn their nose up a little bit. Some do and some don't about eating a jumping mullet, especially when you have so many higher quality fish to eat. But the same thing happened because I love a Taylor bluefish. I tell you one thing, if you think a Taylor bluefish is not good to eat, you haven't ever eaten fish. They're really good if they're cold and fresh, but they told me they caught a bluefish down in Florida, and they're like, you guys eat those things? And like, we love them. So I guess it's where you're from is what makes the difference. Pier and surf fishing had some bluefish, those same bluefish. Been some other stuff too along the beaches. Andy was telling me there's a few bigger drum down on Cape Point. The bluefish are down there, but it's not a blitz. It's a kind of a little bit on the picky side, but you do have the potential of catching a big drum. And then the sea mullet fishing, there's a few, but it's been a little bit quieter than I was expecting for this time of year. But the piers are all open now, and it's a good opportunity to get out there. I know that my friend Dave Rackey was out on Jeanette's Pier yesterday, and he called to tell me he was watching people catching those 4-pound bluefish. It's great fish to catch off a pier, especially if you have kids. So maybe keep that in mind as an option. You say, I don't have a fishing license. Don't need one on a pier. You go on the piers, you're covered by a blanket license. You say, I don't have a fishing rod. Well, you can rent one from a pier or a local tackle shop, or you can buy one that you can keep and take back to Ohio for $50 with everything you need to go fishing at any of your local tackle shops. And I'm trying to think what other excuses you could use to say I can't do it. But you don't have to come to the Outer Banks prepared to fish. We can fix you up affordably and may convert you from bowling to fishing. So anyway, think about that. All right, we'll take a little break, and I'll come back with a brief backcountry report in just a second.
At Fishing Unlimited on the Nags Head Manio Causeway, not only can you get stocked up with all the bait, tackle, and amenities necessary to fish, but you can also be your own captain. That's right. At Fishing Unlimited, you can rent one of their spacious pontoon boats to go fishing, crabbing, dolphin watching, or just to cruise the Roanoke Sound. It's family fun at its finest. Half-day and full-day rentals are available. Be your own captain at Fishing Unlimited on the Nags Head Manio Causeway.
So, as I mentioned, we were fighting the wind all weekend. It was minimal, really minimally fishable. In some places it wasn't. It's like that old, I used to love that band Devo. My favorite song was Whip It Good. And that's kind of what the wind was doing yesterday. It was whipping it good. But when folks got out, there's 4 species. It hadn't changed since last week: puppy drum, sheephead, trout, and bluefish. And I know that's a very general statement to say, but depends on what you want to focus your time on what you're going to catch. So the sheephead fishing is the best I've ever seen it, and they are big sheephead. They're kind of like the bluefish down in Hatteras. A lot of these sheephead are 6, 7, 8, 9. I've seen a couple over 10 pounds. And a sheephead is one of the most desirable targets you could find in any body of water. Great to eat, hard fighting, hard fighting, and just really, really a great target. The trout fishing, you're going to have to throw them back. That season is closed. And the puppy drum, we're off to a good start. There's been a few big drum back in the sound, but mostly it's the pup. So anyway, ask around at the tackle shops, because the area went from being the western Pamlico to now it's all over the Pamlico Sound. And if you're wondering what that is, that's 120 miles long, 25 miles across. A sound is a shallow body of water. And now these fish are starting to show up on the eastern side, behind Hatteras Island, behind Ocracoke, back of Oregon Inlet. And there are plenty of guides that do that kind of fishing as well. So that's what you might want to think about if you're going backcountry fishing. Meanwhile, I hope you have a good week and go out and wet a line. You're not going to catch them in the motel room, but enjoy your week and have a blessed day.